Ever wondered how your favorite chocolate is made? Let's embark on a journey to discover the birth of cacao, the magic ingredient that makes our beloved chocolate. Our tale begins with the majestic cocoa tree, otherwise known as Theobroma cacao, a name that translates to food of the gods. This delightful tree prefers to grow in the tropical latitudes of 20 degrees north and south of the equator, with a particular fondness for the fertile soils of West Africa, Central and South America. It's a tree that thrives in the warm and rainy climates, sheltered under the canopy of larger trees, away from direct sunlight. Now let's talk about the key player in our chocolatey narrative, the cacao pod. This fruit, yes, it's technically a fruit, is a vibrant football-shaped wonder that hangs from the branches of the cocoa tree. Each pod is filled to the brim with cacao beans, enveloped in a sweet white pulp. Harvesting these pods is a delicate task that requires a keen eye and a gentle hand. Once the pods are deemed ripe, they are carefully removed from the tree using a machete or a long pole with a blade at the end, known as a cocoa hook. But the real treasure lies within these pods. Crack one open, and you'll find about 20 to 40 cacao beans, the very essence of our delectable chocolate. These beans are then extracted and left to ferment and dry under the sun, marking the start of their transformation. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's a story for another scene. So where do we go from here? Stick around and find out. The journey from the birth of cacao to the silky smooth chocolate that melts in your mouth is a fascinating one, filled with twists, turns, and a whole lot of deliciousness. Ready to dive deeper into the world of chocolate? Stay tuned. Now that we have our cacao beans, what's next? You may ask. Well, brace yourselves because we're about to embark on a fascinating journey from bean to nib. Let's start with the first step, fermentation. This step is crucial, not just because it sounds fancy, but because it's the beginning of the flavor development process. The cacao beans, still coated in their fruity pulp, are placed in shallow containers and covered with banana leaves. The heat and the natural yeasts in the environment kickstart the fermentation process, which lasts for about 5 to 7 days. This is when the cacao beans start to lose their bitterness and develop the complex flavors we associate with chocolate. Once the beans are thoroughly fermented, they need to be dried. This isn't just to make them easier to handle, but to further enhance the flavors. The beans are spread out under the sun for about 1 to 2 weeks, during which they turn from a purple-ish hue to a rich chocolatey brown. It's a tanning session for the beans, if you will. Next, we have the roasting process. This is where the beans really start to smell like chocolate. They're heated in a roasting machine at temperatures between 250 and 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The roasting not only intensifies the chocolate flavor, but also sterilizes the beans. Finally, we arrive at the cracking stage. The roasted beans are cracked open to reveal the precious nibs inside. These nibs are the heart of the cacao bean, and the key ingredient in all chocolate. They're like the treasure inside a piñata, but way more delicious. And that's it. We've journeyed from bean to nib, through fermentation, drying, roasting and cracking. It's a process that requires patience and precision, but the result is well worth the effort. The nibs are now ready to be turned into the delectable treat that we all know and love. We've got our nibs ready. It's time to get down to business. Scene script. Are you ready to dive into the world of chocolate making? Let's get right into it. Now that we've got our cacao nibs, it's time to make some magic happen. These nibs are about to go on a wild ride. They are initially ground to a paste, transforming into what we call chocolate liquor. No, not that kind of liquor, I'm afraid. This one's a non-alcoholic, thick, gooey paste, and the foundation of all things chocolate. Now imagine a chocolate grinder, like a coffee grinder but 1,000 times better. The cacao nibs, our little heroes, are ground into this paste by the grinder's monstrous teeth. The friction created by the grinding process generates heat, which melts the cacao butter in the nibs, turning them into the chocolate liquor. Now I know what you're thinking. That's it, right? We've made chocolate. Well, not quite. Chocolate liquor, while delicious in its own right, is not the sweet treat we all know and love. It's bitter, dark, and extremely intense. So how do we get from this chocolate liquor to the sweet melt-in-your-mouth goodness that is a bar of chocolate? Well, this is where other ingredients come into play. To make the chocolate liquor more palatable, sugar is added. The amount of sugar varies depending on the desired sweetness of the final product. For milk chocolate, dried milk is also added, but that's not all. To give the chocolate its classic aroma and taste, a dash of vanilla is often added. Each of these ingredients plays a vital role in creating the different types of chocolate we know and love. Dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, they all start with this process. So after all this grinding, mixing and tweaking, we've finally got our chocolate. It's been a journey, hasn't it? But hold on to your hats, because we're not done yet. The chocolate still has a long way to go before it's ready to be enjoyed. So we've got our chocolate, but we're not done yet. Ever wondered why chocolate is so smooth and delicious? Well, let's dive into the magical world of refining and conching, where we transform coarse, gritty chocolate into something divinely smooth and irresistible. Imagine you're at a rock concert. The air is electric, the music loud and fierce. Now imagine a chocolate concert, if you will. Instead of rock bands, we have cocoa particles, sugar, and other ingredients, all jostling together in the giant mosh pit of a refiner. As the refiner spins, these ingredients are ground down to a size so small, our tongues can't detect any individual particles. This is why our beloved chocolate has that heavenly melt-in-your-mouth consistency. Now picture a stubborn artist tirelessly working on their masterpiece, never satisfied until every stroke is perfect. This, my friends, is the role of conching. Named after the Spanish word concha, meaning shell, a concha is a machine that kneads, rolls and aerates the chocolate, sometimes for up to 72 hours. It's not just about texture though. This process also helps in developing the flavor of chocolate by driving off unwanted acrid flavors and bringing out the rich, deep notes we all adore. Some say that conching is where the real magic happens. It's like the chocolate is attending an intensive yoga retreat, emerging relaxed, well-rounded, and ready to bring joy to the world. It's a process of refinement, a process of perfection, and a process of patience. Throughout history, chocolate has been a treat for royalty, a currency, and even a sacred offering. But in this stage, chocolate is like a rough gemstone, being polished and perfected, revealing its true, delectable beauty. So next time you bite into a piece of chocolate, remember the rock concert and the stubborn artist. Remember the hours spent refining and conching, all to create that perfect piece of edible joy. We're almost there. What's next? Let's find out. Ready to see how your favorite chocolate bar takes shape? Let's dive into the fascinating world of tempering and molding, the final steps in the chocolate-making process. Tempering is truly where the magic happens. It's a delicate dance of heating and cooling the chocolate to create a smooth, glossy finish. Imagine the chocolate as a room full of unruly children. Tempering is like the strict but fair headmaster who walks in, and suddenly everyone's in line, behaving impeccably. The process begins by heating the chocolate to a specific temperature to break down its existing crystal structure. Then it's gradually cooled and reheated to encourage the formation of stable, uniform crystals. Why do we do this, you ask? Well, tempering gives the chocolate that satisfying snap when you break a piece off, and it's what makes it melt so seductively in your mouth. Untempered chocolate, on the other hand, can be a bit of a rebel. It might look dull, feel grainy, or even bloom with a whitish cast. Not quite the chocolate experience we're after, right? Once the chocolate is tempered to perfection, it's time for the molding. This is the moment when the liquid chocolate transforms into the familiar shapes we all know and love. The tempered chocolate is poured into molds. From simple squares to intricate designs, the possibilities are endless here. Then the molds are vibrated to remove any pesky air bubbles. We wouldn't want those ruining our smooth chocolate experience, would we? Finally, the filled molds are cooled, allowing the chocolate to solidify and take on the shape of the mold. And voila! What was once a humble cacao bean is now a delectable piece of chocolate, ready to be unwrapped and savored. So the next time you bite into a bar of chocolate, take a moment to appreciate the journey it's been on. From the tropical cacao tree to the careful process of tempering and molding, every step contributes to that heavenly taste. And there you have it. From tree to bar, that's the journey of your favorite chocolate.